move on to public comments for items not on the agenda. Do we have any speaker cards? If you would please.
Stephen Seymour, followed by Marta Binder.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'd like to, I'm here to be real short. I'm just looking to see whether or not I can get your approval for 3 study sessions this year. The first one being on cannabis. I know that the City Council banned it unanimously not long ago, but I do think that there might be reason to open up that public discussion again. The next one would be on term limits. I'd like to see a study session on term limits for council members. And the third one would be to start a mayor rotational like other cities do instead of electing a mayor. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please.
Marta Binder, followed by Reina.
Good evening. My name is Marta Binder, and I am currently the league president of the Women Voters in North and Central San Mateo County. So I'm here today to actually ask you, the city with a heart, to have the heart and consider making a proclamation. This year, 2020, is a centennial year celebrating the 100 years of the women's right to vote, the suffrage amendment 19th of the Constitution. And also the League of Women Voters celebrates 100 years of being founded. So I would like to ask on behalf of the North and Central San Mateo County League of Women Voters if you would consider, I brought for you some information in case that would help you in consideration of this request. So I would like to give it to Melissa, and I'm sure you don't have any questions.
No, but yes, if you could give that to the city clerk, that'd be greatly appreciated. And thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you being here. Next person.
Reina, followed by Tim O'Brien.
Good evening. Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
And thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to basically kindly ask all of you and the city manager to please take a proactive approach on handling the sidewalk blocking by vehicles. So it seemed like it has put on the residents to call the police department to when a vehicle is blocking the sidewalk. But please, it seems like it needs to be enforcement because I am a pedestrian and I also see so many parents and folks with strollers to basically try to maneuver the strollers and kids around the vehicles, and that's unacceptable. I lived in San Francisco, that it's not acceptable. It's Foster City and up and down the peninsula, that's not acceptable. Why is it San Bruno allowed this? I know residents have behaved this way for many, many years, but let's take a proactive action on this because as a pedestrian, and I'm speaking for a lot of folks who don't have the time to come over and speak to change this behavior, but please, that's all I'm asking. Please looking into it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raina. Next, please.
Tim O'Brien, followed by Sandra Perez Vargas.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I just want to talk about enforcement, as far as like code enforcement. There's been cars that have been left on the street that are not registered and just sit there, take advantage of the spot that somebody else could probably take care of or use. And it's kind of an abuse by the resident that has these vehicles. And I'd like to see better enforcement on that. It is a city ordinance or state law. I'm not sure what the ordinance states or what it is, how it's stated. And also I'd like to see you taken a cleaner San Bruno as far as Huntington Avenue from Sylvan to San Felipe is a big issue. I see somebody cleaning the downtown area and the surrounding avenues around downtown I'd like to see, you know, maybe a regular maintenance schedule to clean Huntington Avenue and San Antonio. I'd just like to see, you know, people that come into our city from other areas to see this I'd be disgraced. I'd be disgusted with it. I see other countries that are looked down upon that look cleaner than some of our areas. And our streets need to be repaired, of course. We did the tax increase. Hopefully that gets going now. Yeah, and that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Sandra?
Hello. First, I want to welcome Marta Binder back on council and Linda Mason. It is such a pleasure to see you here, Linda and Marty. I know we're going to be moving in the right direction, and I think it just really serves as such a huge lesson, not only to San Bruno, but all our surrounding areas, not to be discouraged. We were told that against all odds, Marty would get his seat back and Linda would get on. We had so much money being thrown at this campaign, but it's just so inspirational that you can get a group of people and not a whole lot of money and still get something done. And it seems like that's really the way we need to do things in San Bruno and everywhere else. Instead of leading it from the front, a lot of times we're pushing from behind, and we need more leadership. We need people in office to identify and not say, let's wait for a resident to call in. I think it's really important. And being told, like in our area, I'm in the east area, that it's kind of acceptable to just drive by cars blocking sidewalks, garbage, because it's the culture of the residents. How offensive is that? The culture of the residents. If it's a culture of the residents to break the law, then it's our culture to move into the government role of correcting those issues. When you just say, hey, this is how they've lived, let them go, that's not acceptable and it doesn't work. And it's also interesting to see that we allow all these liabilities, the possibility of pedestrians getting hit by cars that they have to walk around, when the city put, I believe, please correct me if I'm wrong, over $75,000 to find a group of residents who try to save 2 heritage trees that were healthy at a future park, not in a parking lot, at a future park. Agenda 1 was to cut down the trees that were incorporated in the original plan. I don't think that's right. I think we can do better. And I think working together as residents, we can do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speaker cards?
John Barrelier.
Mr. Berler?
I wrote a letter to the city council. I'm sure you got it. This has to do with something that happened on December the 30th. And while it's still fresh in my mind, about half hour ago, my senior citizen buddy, Wes, and I jumped back, jumped. Seniors can jump when your life is at stake, back from a black Volkswagen determined to bomb through the red light and get to the nearby 280 freeway. This once would have been enough to ignite my anger, but it's pervasive. Yeah, it's happened dozens of times in the last year, and so represents an epidemic of tragic probabilities, which will be called accidents. There is not so fine a line between accident and stupidity. That fine line is called foresight. What's wrong with the existing picture? I'm presenting this to you so you can say you did everything possible to prevent a senior with a walker being killed in a crosswalk with the light. Number 1, the speed limit behind Artichoke Joe's is 10 miles an hour. I don't know how that happened. Here it's 25. Are gamblers more protected than or valuable than seniors? Give us a slower speed limit. The crosswalk needs to be repainted. Does that really need to be said? Take a look. The crosswalk needs to be embedded with lights, alerting drivers to pedestrians there, as exists in Millbrae at the Taiwu crossing, to protect the pedestrians. And while you're at it, while you've got the paint truck out, paint the crosswalk in front of this entrance over here to the Senior Citizen Center. That's been neglected too. Place another Senior Center sign further down, maybe 25 yards, 50 yards east on Crystal Springs Road. And similar signs, like signs, on other streets approaching the Senior Citizen Center. One coming down from 280, the other coming down from El Crystal. There's nothing to depict this as a Senior Citizen Center. One little dinky light sign as you go into the upper parking lot. It's a little late. This is not a we'll get to it later letter. This is a today letter. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speaker cards? Is there anybody in the audience that wanted to speak on something that was not on the agenda?